Hello everyone. This is Timothy Valiente, and on behalf of Group 2, we welcome you to another exciting and informative discussion. So, how are you, class? Are you still good? Alright, so sit back, relax, and learn. So, as you can see on the screen, our topic is all about understanding the models of teaching literature. So before we start our discussion, let me present to you our learning objectives. At the end of the discussion, the student should be able to first, differentiate the three models of teaching literature. Number 2, explain the aspects of each models. And number 3, cite the importance of three models. Now that we are guided by our learning objectives, let's start our discussion. According to Carter and Long, there are different models of teaching literature. These models are roots for literature teaching approaches. And these models determine how the teacher uses a literary text depend on the chosen model. And each models differ in terms of focus. There are three models of teaching literature. These are the cultural model, the language model, and the personal growth model. The first model will be discussed by yours truly, and the other two models will be discussed by my co-team teachers via Vianca Caponga and Jocelle Lyca Evaristo. Now let's discuss the cultural model. The cultural model believed that the value of literature lies in its unique distillation of culture. In this model, the class reads fiction or poetry as part of their instruction about history, politics, social mores, and traditions. Now let's delve into the aspects of the cultural model. First, we have the nature. Facts about historical background, the cultural, social, and political background of the text. This aspect delves into the context surrounding a literary text. To understand a piece fully, it's crucial to consider first the historical background. What major events, movements, or societal changes were happening during the time the text was written? How did those events shape the author's perspective and the story's themes? Second, the cultural background. What were the prevailing cultural norms, beliefs, and values of the time? And how do these influence the characters, their actions, and the overall message of the text? Next, social background. What were the social structures and hierarchies in place? How did this affect the characters' lives and the story portrayal of society? And last, political background. What were the political systems and ideologies present? How these influenced the story's conflicts, power dynamics, and themes of justice or injustice. Next, we have the focus. The cultural model focused on an information-based approach. This approach, as proposed by Carter, views literature as a source of information. It emphasizes the act of reading as a process of acquiring factual knowledge. The primary goal of reading literary texts is to extract information rather than focusing solely on aesthetic or emotional responses. For example, when reading a historical novel, the focus might be on learning about the period, the character's motivation, and the historical events depicted, rather than solely on the story's emotional impact. This approach can be particularly valuable for students, researchers, and anyone seeking to gain deeper insights into historical periods, cultures, or societal issues. Next, we have the teacher's role. In this model, the teacher serves as the fountain of knowledge. That's why it's a teacher-centered and a most traditional approach. In this model, the teacher dominates the classroom, delivering lectures and explanations. Student participation is often limited to passive listening and note taking. And this model is frequently employed in university level literature courses, particularly those focused on literary analysis and historical context. This model is also largely rejected by those in TFL, or also called teaching English as a foreign language, due to its little opportunity for extended language work. This means that students have minimal chances to engage in extended speaking, writing, or interactive language activities. Next, we have regard towards literature. This model views literature as a product, meaning it is a product of a certain community, culture, and group of people, treated as a source of information. Even if we are not able to go to a certain place or meet this certain people, through literature we are able to know their background, their culture, how they behave, and other informations about them. Next, we have the literary text. The literary text used in this model are typically novels, poems, or plays. For example, Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo. And last, we have the activities used in this model. So we have lectures. Here, the teacher delivers lectures explaining the historical context, literary techniques, and author's intention. Next, we have explanation. Here, the teacher clarifies difficult passages or concepts. And last, we have reading of notes and criticism. So here, students read prepared notes, critical essays, or analysis provided by the teacher or in workbooks. So this approach minimizes independent critical thinking and active engagement with the text. Now let's recognize the importance of the cultural model. First, we have deeper understanding of texts. Cultural model allows for more thorough comprehension of texts by considering their historical, social, and cultural context. These go beyond simply understanding the words to understanding the meaning within its specific cultural framework. Next, we have appreciation of diverse cultures. Cultural model fosters respect and understanding for different cultures, promoting inclusivity and reducing prejudice. It emphasizes the value of diverse perspectives and experiences. Next, we have enhanced critical thinking skills. The cultural model encourages critical thinking by challenging assumptions and prompting analysis of different viewpoints. It cultivates the ability to evaluate information objectively and form nuanced opinions. And last but not the least, we have connection to history. The cultural model helps connect present day issues and understandings to their historical roots, providing a richer and more complete perspective. It allows for a deeper appreciation of how past events shape the present. And that's all for the cultural model. I hope that you have learned something. Now may I present to you my co-team teacher who will discuss the language model, Miss Vianca Caponga. Miss Via, take it away.
Good day, everyone. Today, we will be discussing another models, which is the language model in teaching literature. So now, what is language model? So when we say language model, it is the unification between the language and literature. Meaning, in language model, we are using literature as our tool to learn language, to teach English language, because as we all know that in literature there is this word that has this connotative meaning or the emotional meaning other than the facade meaning or the literal meaning of the words. It aims to be more learner-centered. Why? Because we let our students pay attention to or the way language is being used in a text, the meaning, and increases the general awareness of the students with regards to the English language. In addition, when we say language model, it focuses on how language used in a literary text. So this approach uses text as a basis for analyzing grammar and structure. So we English major, right? We are taking different literature. We took that different literature. We have Afro-Asian literature, American, Philippine literature, and so on and so forth. For us, not just to appreciate the certain text, but also to develop our language proficiency, our language skills, including our macro skills. So language model enables learners to access a text in a systematic and methodical way in order to exemplify specific linguistic features. Example, the literal and figurative language, the direct and indirect speech. So in literature, we have this denotation and connotation, right? So when we say denotation, that is the literal meaning of the word, while the connotation, it's the figurative meaning, the deeper meaning of the word. So using language model with in teaching literature, we are trying to explore some linguistic features, and then knowing that literature has this figurative languages. So that's the beauty of using literature as our means of teaching. The focus of language model is on the different approaches. We have paraphrastic approach, stylistic approach, and language-based approach. So, when we say paraphrastic approach, this is about the paraphrasing or rewording the words, the sentences, or the phrase to make the original text more easier to understand. And when we say stylistic approach, these are the close study of the linguistic features of the text to determine what is its register, its type. Enable students to make meaningful interpretations of the text, help learners read and study literature more competently using the language model. And also we have this language-based approach. So when we say language-based approach, so it helps students to focus on the attention on way as how language is used in knowing the nature of literature that is uses language in its static form or in its creative form. Therefore, it may have this rhetorical function other than what is the literal or the dictionary function. Language models is a resources for language practice through series of language activities. So through this language model, it's like what I've said a while ago, that it is the unification between the language and literature, wherein we use a particular text or literature as a channel for us to enhance our language proficiency by using literature as a source or channel in language learning. So we are using that literary piece, the certain, say for example, a short story or a poem in order for us to teach language or in order for us to enhance the language skills of our learners, knowing that they are learners of English as a second language or learners as a foreign language. According to Lazar 1993, the language model see literary texts as a sources for language practice through series of language activities, rather than studying literature for the purpose of acquiring facts and information. Meaning, so factual information about the piece being disregarded in language model. Because the purpose of the language in teaching literature using a language model is to have this particular literary piece to be a means, to be a tool for us to teach language, for us to teach vocabulary. In teaching language model, we can use any literary text like short stories and poems. So, teaching poems and stories to help students learn language better involves a few important steps. Say, for example, get them interested by talking about pictures or ideas related to the story or poem. So during reading, help them understand by breaking the text into smaller parts and asking questions. So look at the new words together and talk about how the writer uses language are not meant to be taken literally. And after reading, have them write their own stories or poems, talk about what they think the text means, and maybe even argue about different ideas. So it's also good to connect the story or poem to real life so they see why it matters. So, doing all these things, reading, speaking, and listening, it helps students understand the text and get better at using the language. So, in this model, how are we going to develop the language proficiency or the language skills of the students? Of course, through different or through series of language practice, language activities. First, the close procedure, prediction exercises, jumbled sentences, summary writing, and creative writing, and role play. So, these are some activities that we can integrate in teaching literature to the use of the language model. To conclude, language models are important in teaching literature. Why? Because they help students understand text better, encourage critical thinking, and make learning more interactive. So it also helps students develop their language proficiency, their language skills, their macro skills, so they can explain difficult parts of a story, create discussion topics, and offer quick feedback. So when used with traditional teaching methods, language models make literature lessons more engaging and effective for students. So that's all for my topic. Thank you for listening.
Good day, everyone. Today we are going to discuss the third models of teaching literature, and that is the personal growth model. So, what is personal growth model? So, in this model, it was outlined by Carter and Long. So the focus is on engagement. So teachers use literature to help students understand themselves better and connect with the world around them in a much deeper way by exploring universal themes. So here, of course, learning is more fun when it is engaging, right? So teacher use stories and books to help students understand themselves and the world better. So by reading about characters and their problems, students learn about things like friendship, the courage, the bravery and fairness and things everyone deals with. So it helps them connect with others and see that they are not alone in their feelings and experiences. So, it is said that personal growth model attempts to bridge the gap between the cultural and language model, meaning here you actively encourage your student to connect their personal experiences and cultural understanding with the language used in the text. So here you are using the language, at the same time you are placing it in a specific cultural context. So are we clear? And the focus of personal growth model is on the personal response approach and moral philosophical approach. So what are these personal response and moral philosophical approach? So in personal response approach, you you encourage students to connect learning to their own lives and experiences, while in moral philosophical approach, you encourage you encourage the students to consider ethical implication and values related to the literary works that being discussed. So it seeks opportunity to students to relate and respond to the themes and issues by making connection to their personal lives. And student can relate more if it touches their personal lives. So that can lead to self reflection and deeper understanding, not just on their self development but also to the society around them. So, what are the teacher's role in this model? So, the teacher's role here is to help the learners to achieve an engagement with the reading of a literary text and encourages the learners to love literature. Of course, here in personal growth model, the teacher act as a facilitator and it is a learner centered. Why? Because the students are the one who construct meaning, who construct their learning from their own experiences. And here we build the love and appreciation of literary works. And also in this model, it focuses on the use of literature as a resource and not on the study of literature. Because in this model, literature is seen as a resource that can provide valuable insights, stimulates emotional and intellectual growth, and of course, it fosters self-reflection. The primary goal is to engage the students with text in a way that it promotes individual growth, helping individuals to understand themselves better, develop empathy, and apply lessons from stories to their own lives. So rather than analyzing literature for its historical significance, the personal growth model instills the learners to enrich their personal experience and encourage positive transformation on themselves. So, and of course, choose literary texts that the students will relate their experience in the content. So, what are the activities under personal growth model? So, this can be a reflection paper, a debate, and open forums. So these are activities that the students can share and relate their experiences to a certain literary text. So, do you understand our discussion? So, if you do, that ends our discussion. Thank you.
If you really understand our discussion, kindly answer the following question in the 1/4 sheet of paper. Thank you and good day.